Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Next Go Wins podcast. Georgie, take this serious. We're starting right now, Georgie.
We're starting episode.
Oh, this
might be at 40.
This might be 40.
Wow.
Dude, that
This
means
is
we're almost
40.
at 50.
Lordy.
This is 40. Good catch, Georgie. Good catch.
10% of the way to 400.
10%? Did you say 10%?
Yeah.
I mean, the math checks
Oh,
out.
400. I thought you said 100. I think
The way he said it, I'm like double checking the math in my head. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I got that right.
Yeah, so we're at episode 40. Wow, we made it. We made it.
It would be funny as hell if it's 39 or 41.
No, it's 40. The last one was 39. The last one was 39. The one that we just did the other day, you and I. All right, and as you can see, we got a full house today, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. We're back.
Four people celebrating our 40th episode.
I got
That's 10% of 40.
Georgie
Math checks
in
out.
the hot seat as usual.
It's pretty hot here. Yeah.
How you doing, Georgie? You all right?
Yeah, life is good.
You're making it?
Making
and then
it.
I got the other co-host, Joe D, Statsman.
I'm back.
Joe, give us an update. Where are we at?
Well, we are on our 40th episode,
Oh,
which takes us 10% of the way to 400, 1% of the way to 4,000.
Wow.
interesting.
And we have a lot of things planned this summer, which we're going to talk about here in a little
We will
bit.
talk about that.
So the stats are
Yeah. And so the
stats are doing well.
Appreciate the stats,
Yeah.
Joe.
What? So we have a bunch of people listening on Spotify.
Yep.
So for our Spotify listeners, we appreciate you. Thank you.
We're in the double digits.
Woo, woo.
And then
Triple digits incoming soon.
And we have Thomas because big news coming out of West Ham.
Massive news.
Possible contract extension. So we had to bring him on, get his thoughts, because he's obviously, as you guys know, a huge David Moyes supporter.
Yes. All news out of West Ham is massive news.
So we carved out a whole 1 minute of this podcast so Thomas could come and talk about that. So we'll see how that goes.
And that was the first minute of the podcast, right? So I think
Yeah.
we kind of used it up there.
And there it
All right,
goes.
thanks,
See
Thomas. You can go home now. All right. So today we listen. Before this podcast started, I was telling these guys to give me some topics for the pre-cap, so we tell you guys what we're going to talk about. And the only person who contributed anything whatsoever was Georgie. So we have nothing basically.
usual.
So we have nothing.
The
No,
usual.
here's the pre-cap. Here's a pre-cap. We got Liverpool Academy on fire. Their U15s are doing great. All right, in the Premier League. Well, not in the Premier League, in the
FA Cup now.
in the FA Cup now, Carabao Cup and FA Cup. We want to discuss our plans for the Copa America, which is coming this summer, which is going to be an interesting. We're gonna figure this out, how we can attend some games, what our plans are, road trip plans. I found it interesting a little bit about the news about the player manager position that's starting to be a thing around the Premier League. And then I don't know why I added this into the pre-cap, but I just put the Besiktas player terminated for having a Tinder profile. Like, that's probably not a whole topic that we should talk about, but that's how low we are on topics today. And then the wild card segment is Bitcoin, because last week we were supposed to, or not last week, a couple weeks ago when we did the podcast, Georgie wasn't here, and me and Joe were gonna do a whole section of this podcast dedicated to something completely unrelated to football. And we were going to do Bitcoin, but we felt it wasn't fair to do it without the king of Bitcoin himself, Georgie. So now you're back. So now we can talk about it.
I'm back.
So ideally, I think in my perfect world of this podcast, my vision, we don't always have to talk about just football. I think that would be kind of cool. That way we can also bring some guests on who aren't footballers or whatever, and we can just talk about some random other stuff. Georgie wanted to transform it into like a heart-to-heart.
We should.
Georgie wants to sit down.
I think that will do very well, to be honest.
Georgie wants to sit down with people and just talk about their feelings.
100%.
Which would only make Javi extremely uncomfortable
Which-
for the entire time.
I'm gonna go downstairs and take a nap while that's going on. But so maybe we'll do some of that stuff this is our beginning of that, is having the wild card segment, maybe something a little different.
So a comment on the videos, if there's anything you want us to talk about, or you're wondering, like, I wonder what Javi thinks about blank. I wonder what Georgie thinks about X or Y. We'll talk about it for you.
People are just gonna say stick to football.
I could see people saying the opposite. Get off football because you don't know what you're talking about and go talk
That
about
too.
something different.
That's
Especially if you're wearing a USA hat and a France jersey.
Hey, I had to wear this for Paul Pogba. You know, he's going through a rough time in life, and I used to be a huge Paul Pogba fan.
He did
so I wanna
release a
wear this.
statement. He did release a statement, didn't he? I saw a statement that said he would never do that purposely, right?
Yeah, and he's fighting it.
Yeah, that's what I assumed.
Not in these days. You are guilty until you're proven innocent. Used to be the other way around, but definitely different.
Well, he
now.
did get proven that he took it.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of
Anyway,
Like, how did it happen?
let's
Why
actually
did
get
it happen?
let's get straight into it. So first of all, Georgie, as usual, we for some weird reason end up talking about Liverpool the first 35 minutes of this podcast. Not only did they win the Carabao Cup for you, but now
Yep.
they moved you into the next round of the FA Cup.
3-0 against Southampton. What a performance. I mean, from first half was kind of shaky at first, but second half completely dominated Southampton. And again, the kids, I mean, the ones did start the game, and then the ones that came off the bench, absolutely amazing. Just every single one of them. Obviously, Jason Dan scores 2 goals coming off the bench. Kuma scores a goal. So amazing to see, but every single one of them was just brilliant. It's just amazing to see. It's the Jurgen Klopp effect. He's doing all this.
No, it's the medical team effect
No, because
everyone's injured.
Yeah, but Jurgen Klopp from top to bottom has transformed this team ever since he's.
Uh-oh.
GG's in the chat.
We got a pitch invader. I hear some crying downstairs.
Yep.
That's all right. I'll let Brittany take care of it.
Brittany here.
Yeah, she's downstairs. So I sleep in the kids' room with Roro, and then Brittany sleeps in our room with Lobo. That's how we put them down because we don't fit in the one bed. But the problem is, I think she already woke up. So the problem is, like right now, I left to come upstairs, so Roro's in the room by himself. So if he wakes up, he starts crying because he doesn't see me. If Lobo wakes up, Brittany's right there. So last time when I brought him up here and he just did the podcast with me, but we still have way too long left in the podcast for us to make that work. Because then he'll start going crazy after 20 minutes to start screaming and stuff. But anyway, Brittany will take care of it. No pitch invaders today. No pitch invaders
For
today.
now.
For now. Is he still crying?
Doesn't sound like it.
No.
Nah,
I don't know.
Brittany probably just grabbed him, threw him in the room now.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, where were we?
Just again, Jurgen Klopp, top to bottom, transformed this team, and I think just announcing that he's leaving is giving everybody just the motivation to make sure that if you are on the field, if you're part of the team, part of the squad, part of the roster, you're getting 1,000%, and that's just what it is, and it's happening, and the development of all those players, it's the Liverpool way. You can see when the youngsters come on, they play the same exact way as Liverpool play. And again, it's back to Jurgen Klopp. The man is just different.
He's the Dan Campbell of Premier League.
Yeah, pretty much. He is the Dan Campbell of the Premier League. And that's the thing.
Nah, that's different.
It is different, but kind of the similar. Dan Campbell bringing in title for the first time in 30 years. Jurgen Klopp did the same to Liverpool. It's
Both man of the people, both just
Yeah.
like down to earth
yeah.
dudes you want to hang out with.
That's why I always say the best in the world, without a doubt. Not even close.
Have you ever met Klopp?
We had a 2-hour conversation when I went over there last week. Yeah, I was the one yelling. He was never responding, but I was the one yelling at him.
You
Yeah,
yelled at him for 90 straight minutes?
Yep. Yeah, but 3-0 on to the next round. Now we play Manchester United away. So I do wonder if the kids are going to be playing in that game, because that's obviously a completely different animal when you're going away to Man United.
Speaking of Manchester United, they're still all over the place. They're still very inconsistent. We've talked about Ineos coming in, Sir Radcliffe coming in and making changes, or hasn't really made any real changes just yet. But I've listening to reading some of the stuff that him and Ten Hag have had a lot of conversations. It seems like Ten Hag's very confident that his job, not that his job is safe, but that he's had good conversations with Ineos so that he's going to stick around. Do you guys think when they start making some changes, he's going to be the guy that they're going to say long-term future of Manchester United? Because again, these are the same people that they've brought over from different teams that have said, we're going to adopt this philosophy of if you're not performing, you're out. The Manchester City philosophy. Not like, oh, you're just a club legend, so we're going to keep you here. So do you guys think Ten Hag, based on his performances and based on kind of where you guys see in the near future, is he going to be the man to stay, or are they going to find somebody else?
I think he has to turn it around by the end of the year. I would say, like, if they don't at least make a run at top 4 by the end of the season, I could see a change going into the new year. Because if he has new ownership, we'll give the current guy some time. We'll see how it goes. Can he at least salvage the season so it's not anything like terrible? And if he can do that and finish, I'd say top 6 or higher, but like at least closing the gap a bit, then yeah, I think he'll stay. But if they start falling and dropping points and finish, I'd say anything 7th or beyond, I could see it as Man U end the season, ending it with Ten Hag and giving the new coach an entire off season and going from there.
I would like to see whoever gets a hold of Man U but either make it work with Anthony Garnacho and big knucklehead in the back, Harry Maguire. Like, either make it work with those guys or stop giving them playing time and let the youngsters play and like actually progress the team, because you're seeing the same results every week in, week out, with these 3 useless bodies on the field. Like,
Damn.
I don't understand.
To be fair, it is a huge waste of money when you're thinking about like Anthony.
I-
How much money you've spent for him and what he's done is like...
He's done a lot of this.
It's the same as like him and Mudryk have to be 2 of the worst investments.
Yeah.
Because not only have they not done anything for you, but even if you try and sell them now, you're not going to get anywhere near as much as what you were going to get or what you paid for them.
No chance.
No way.
So let's talk about candidates then. Let's say Ten Hag's job is at risk. They let him see out the season. Right now they're in 6th place. So they get a couple good results. They end up in 4th or 5th. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden it's a good start to the Ineos era. However, let's say he's gone. Who are the possible realistic replacements at the moment for Manchester United?
David Moyes.
David Moyes going back. Tuchel.
Yeah.
Let's leave him. Yeah.
Tuchel hasn't
Xavi, I could see.
No, I don't
see Xavi as a... I don't know.
I mean, he might, but I don't see it. He's not going to leave one crazy
situation and go to another.
Go to another crazy situation. Especially after what he's like, oh, I'm tired of the
it's interesting
scrutiny
though,
and all that.
because I think the only reason I would say it's just weird because he doesn't seem like a guy who wants to manage in the Premier League. I mean, I feel like he would.
So the thing is, though, where would he manage then now? Because he's not going to manage at Real Madrid.
No, but I feel like he would want to go to like Italy. Like Italy would be a good place for him to go to. I don't know. I just see him as a weird place, like the English Premier League to be a place.
Weird place for him.
Weird. But anyway, I do think, though, when you think about it, the reason why Barcelona didn't work out for Xavi was more about the pressure of being a Barcelona, of a person in Barcelona, of managing Barcelona's team. Because he even said, like, it's impossible to be here long term. You can't do it because of the amount of pressure and the way that you're treated after every single match. Manchester United is different. However, Manchester United now has the resources to become a good club without the immediate or without the extreme amount of pressure that Barcelona has. So, I mean, he loses a couple games. It's not a big deal at Manchester United if you lose a couple games. You lose a couple games at Barcelona and you're literally the worst person in Barcelona. So I wonder if that would be a project that he'd be like, yeah, the pieces are right. And Manchester United is looking for what Barcelona could never have, a long-term manager.
That's kind of the reason why I think it, because you have to find somebody that in Barcelona or in Manchester United ownership eyes will be a long-term manager. So you have to then start looking at younger coaches naturally. You have to look at people who are not in a position now. And I think that also look at people who have either built something and let it sustain for a while. But again, if you do that, most of those people aren't young, right? Or looking at Xavi, although he didn't build the Barcelona system, he grew up in it. So he does know what the whole thing is supposed to look like. And he's seen it from a player's perspective that, for me, I could see someone like that coming in, and if they are dedicated to him in the long term, working with him on not just revamping, obviously, the first team and what they do at the Premier League level, but looking at it as a holistic business and like, hey man, like we're gonna need your input on how to build this thing all the way through from the ground up. That if I'm Xavi, I don't know if you're going to get a better opportunity to get that, but
What about what Rio said? Rio said in his podcast that Arteta will 100% go to Man United if he was offered that job, and he would leave Arsenal behind just because of Manchester United. I don't.
But why? What's the connection?
I don't.
Just because it's a
No
bigger
connection,
club?
just 'cause
it's a Manchester United? No
Supposedly.
chance.
That's what I said. No
I don't think
chance.
so either.
That's
Rio
interesting.
Ferdinand has been on some crazy, weird things going on lately. But he said 100% Arteta will leave Arsenal if there was a chance he could take the Man United job.
No, because first of all, Rio's perception of Manchester United is not realistic anymore. They're still like him, Roy Keane, like Gary Neville, all these guys still, let's be honest, they still hold the current players to the standards of before. And the reality is that they're not there anymore. They have to realize that.
Yeah.
Like, they're not the same Manchester United that they were 10 years ago. So they have to do I've said this before, they have to do exactly what Liverpool did when they hired Klopp. Is understand that it was a rebuild. They were going to give him a few years to be not great, build a team, and then eventually it was going to pay off, which it's done. Now, it doesn't always work, and it's a huge investment. It worked out for Liverpool because Klopp was the right guy. But Manchester United, they're not the biggest club in the Premier League anymore. I mean, you ask younger kids now, and they don't. It's just like an average club in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So, if I'm Arteta and I played for Arsenal, captained Arsenal, and on top of that, I worked underneath Pep at Manchester City. Not that has a huge effect on it, but there's really no interest in the Manchester United job.
And you're already 10 steps ahead.
Yeah, you're gonna go rebuild the same thing that you just did.
Like, why would you do that?
So they might not want to hear this. Like Rio might not want to hear this, and some of these guys might want to hear. But Arteta going to Manchester United is a step.
It's 10 steps back.
Yeah. I could see. I guess now there's like I could see someone like Xabi Alonso, at least Manchester United wanting someone like him, and going after him. But I don't think out of all the jobs that are open, I don't think that would be the one he would
That's
take.
like Arsenal wanting Mbappe.
Yeah, no chance. If Xabi Alonso goes to Man United,
If he was going to go to the Premier League, he'd go to Liverpool first.
yeah, hopefully.
At least I think so. I still think that's where he's going to land in this whole thing. But
Where do you think he goes,
could
Thomas? Where do you think he goes?
Somewhere not West Ham. Go to Newcastle, you know?
Who?
Turn the tables. Mbappe.
Xabi- No.
Oh, you're talking about Xavi.
Yeah.
Oh.
Xabi Alonso.
Yeah, probably Liverpool.
It's the only one.
He would ruin his legacy. He would ruin his legacy if he goes and manages Manchester United when Bayern Munich and Liverpool jobs are open. Right
yeah,
now.
he wouldn't do that.
And he played for Liverpool. He goes to Man United. That dream of coaching Liverpool is done. So,
Do you think he goes to Bayern first or Liverpool first?
Bayern would make more sense.
Liverpool makes way more sense.
That's what I think.
I think that's a
Liverpool.
retirement job. I think that's
Liverpool?
like his big one at the end. Yeah.
I think Real Madrid's going to be his one. I think he'll go. I think he'll go Liverpool, then back to the German league, and then Real Madrid after.
Imagine that.
He has the least love and affection towards Bayern Munich out of all the teams.
Of the three that he's played for.
Yeah.
yeah. You'd assume it's got to be top.
He just
with,
went there because
that's where he ended,
Yeah.
and Pep was there.
Yeah. But if you're plus, it doesn't make sense if you're at Bayer Leverkusen, you're not going to tarnish
Being
like
a legend
in
there.
5-6 years, 5 to 10 years, you go back. It's
Different.
a bit different compared to
Much different.
Yeah.
leaving from you just beat them and then there you go and then it looks to Bayer Leverkusen you just look like I don't know.
What if he just stayed at Leverkusen? That'd be nice.
Oh, he could also stay there. Yeah.
Nah.
I don't think there's any chance.
However, I'll say this: if you win it, obviously in a good position now. If you win the Bundesliga now, you'd rather leave now while you're on top compared to try and do something next year and everything falls apart. Then everything, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, all those teams are going to be like, maybe it's not really working out. Which, again, I think it would only make Bayer Leverkusen better if he did stay. But there's no way. Well, there's a way, obviously, to stay. I don't think he's going to do it.
Also, too, it's like very rare in your career where the stars align to like make a move, where you're going to potentially, he's probably going to win the German league. And then 2 of the 3 jobs he has openly said, I would love to go coach, both available.
Yeah.
Like if Liverpool doesn't take him, I could see him going to Bayern, but I don't see any reason why Liverpool wouldn't. Like I think it's just a matter of time before that happens.
And one, he played for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Two, the only coach in the Bundesliga to overtake Bayern Munich prior to this was Jurgen Klopp. So, it just makes sense.
I think
Funny part is Xabi Alonso did it in what one season when it took
Yeah.
Klopp 7. That's the crazy part about
That
it
is
too.
crazy.
Like Klopp's arguably one of the best managers of all time, and it took him 7 years to do what Xabi Alonso did in 1.
But he did it with Pep, right? Did Klopp do it? Yeah.
Against Pep, he did. He did.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think so.
Where do you think he's going to go? Did you say?
I think Liverpool makes the most sense. I think Bayern Munich is a club that, as big as they are, you don't have to be in your best moments as a manager to get that job. Like Tuchel got that job after getting sacked from Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
They've gone through. Pep was so you sent this in the group chat, right? Pep was the last manager at Bayern Munich to stay for more than 2 years, was it?
It was two
seasons?
through 2 seasons.
Through
or
2
whatever, yeah.
seasons. So Bayern Munich is a job that even if let's say he goes to Liverpool and he does bad at Liverpool, Bayern Munich will still want him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool, the only difficult part about it is that Liverpool are looking for another person like Klopp who's going to be there for at least 7 or 8 years, and make, and if it wasn't for Klopp leaving on his own, they would have kept him there for a long time.
Yeah.
Especially after having another good season like this one, probably have another good one next season, and then even if he has a bad season, they're still going to support him through the whole thing. So I think they want a long-term manager. So I think it's up to him whether he wants to do that and be at Liverpool for a certain amount of time. But even then, he doesn't have to stay there for that long.
Yeah.
I think that's just what they want. That's what they're looking for. But I think it would be better to do that than to go to Bayern Munich right now. Like you said, have a bad spell at Bayern Munich, and then Liverpool job might not be open at that point anymore. Bayern Munich, they're going to change their manager again.
And he
But-
wants to coach Real Madrid at some point.
I think
So-
Real Madrid is the last step.
So Liverpool for 3-4 years, you go to Real Madrid, take care of business, and do that. What Ancelotti did, you go to Bayern Munich and easily win if he wants.
I would go Liverpool, Bayern, Real.
I think he'll go just like how he played, Liverpool, Real. But that's the other part of it too. If he does it that way, it gives the most time to come back to the German league. He literally does the same way he played.
And the Real
The
Madrid
same
job
order.
opens 2027,
Yeah.
2026.
So in theory, he should actually go to Real Sociedad first.
He was there already.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was the
As
coach,
manager?
the B
He was
team.
a B team coach. I
Oh,
think.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Missed that. I didn't
So-
watch the B team.
it's And just funny about that, from the 3rd division is the first time ever they went to the 2nd division. So
It is like you know what I want to do? Go watch one of his training sessions because it must be incredible what he's doing because he does it so fast.
So that's the question though. Is it if you had to put it in like a pie chart or like percentages, what percentage of it is tactics? What percentage of it is man management and understanding how to navigate players in tough situations and pressure situations, pressure moments in the season, that kind of stuff?
I mean,
Like, do you think he's just
I think it's both.
obviously he's good at both, right? Obviously he's good at both. Like you can say that. But I'm saying, like, is it just because he's like, dude, this guy is so far ahead in tactics that it makes everything so much easier, or he just really knows how to manage the players?
I probably would say it's split down the middle, especially for someone like him because tactically, I think he knows. If you look at the people he's played for, because he's played for Mourinho, Ancelotti, Pep, who else? Rafa. Like he's played for some of the best coaches. So tactically, I would assume he's top, like at least top, like top notch. Maybe not top of the heap, but up there. And I distinctly remember watching him play all the time. And if you like think of just all of the players he's played with, but in those 3 teams alone, he's played with some of the best players that have ever played over the past like 30 seasons. And then you also compound that he played in the Spanish national team. Like that, I think his man management, a lot of people just give him the respect because of how amazing he was as a player. Similar, I think, to like Zidane at Real Madrid, and one part of the reason why he did so well, yeah, he's obviously tactically great, but if Zidane is telling you, hey, this is probably what you should do, there's no, I don't think, any time wasted in terms of having to convince the player to do the thing. Like they just I'm got it, and I'm going to do it. Where I think someone like Arteta, not that people don't respect him, but I think it took him longer to get some of that respect because he wasn't at the same caliber of player as Xabi Alonso was, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and Arteta has to be a little bit more on the tactic side to convince the players, right? It's not just like, this is what I did, so you should do it. He's like, obviously he's got a little bit of respect from that because he was an Arsenal captain, but really he has to have the tactics down in order to really convince the players.
Like they got to get results, I think, for players to buy in, which now, obviously, the more results you get, the easier the buy-in comes over time. But I think he must be great at both. There's a video. Have you guys seen the video of Granit Xhaka talking about the two?
No, I only saw the video of him and Carragher talking about Mourinho and Pep, different tactics, and then he breaks it down like on the board, on the screen, and it's like
Granit Xhaka did?
Xabi
Alonso.
Yeah, and Carragher. Like, it was unreal. Just listening to him talk about different tactics. And then they played Bayern Munich, where they completely dominated Bayern Munich without the ball. So you have somebody with Pep who loves having the ball, like 70-80% possession. Then you have somebody like Mourinho, complete opposite.
Right.
Like, if there's two top managers on the opposite sides,
It's those two.
those are the two. And you play under both, and you understand what they would like to do and how to play. And then you go into managing, and then you put that into it. And where you dominate in the Bundesliga, I think that you usually average like 60 to 70% possession a game. And then you play Bayern Munich, who are supposedly the best team in Germany. And then you dominate them without
The ball. Like
which we have like 30, 35% possession, which it was unreal to watch. It was like all the angles and the way they force them into specific areas just to win the ball and counter. It was just unreal.
The video that I was talking to about with Xhaka, he was in a car driving and someone was interviewing him and he was talking like, what's the difference between the two? He said both of them are like clear cut in what they want and like what their style is. And he goes, but the biggest difference is that Arteta wanted to play with one pivot, and he's like Xabi Alonso always wants to play with two. And then he talked to your point about his ability, I think, to like force people into specific spaces, like knowing where the other team wants to attack, and not necessarily taking it away, but like preparing for that, so then they can, to your point, attack on the counter. But it's, I don't know.
I think I honestly think he's closer to like 85%. I would say 85% tactics,
Really?
and 15% man management.
Do you think it's just that bad at man management, or that good at tactics?
I'm just saying I think he's that far advanced in tactics, because you don't go. How many games have they played now in the Bundesliga? They have like 19 or 20 wins and like 4 draws, 0 losses. You can't. That's nearly impossible. Like if you look back at the history books of any of the top 5 leagues, that's very. I mean, the last one that's probably done it has been, I would assume, the Invincibles.
Yeah, I would assume so
Right?
too. I'm not sure, but I would
So
assume.
and he's doing that in essentially year 1 with this club, right?
Yeah.
So I think tactically, and like Georgie said, watching that game, he's got to be so advanced at his tactics that he knows exactly what he wants, and he knows that almost 100% that it's going to work, because it has so far. Now, you also got to we talked about this, but you also got to take into account he's played for some of the best tacticians in the game. So he was essentially getting his coaching licenses, getting his coaching experience while he was playing.
Yeah.
Right?
You're not wrong.
So like every single training session, every single match under all of these managers, he's like, okay, that makes sense as to why he's doing it. That makes sense as to why he's doing it. And all these guys are very different too. So you compile all of that, and then you just basically let this guy start coaching, and it's like it just all opens up. So for me, I think that's it. And I think the man management is very, not saying that he doesn't have to, but he's also at Leverkusen, so he doesn't have big time personalities of players who are like world class players that he has to deal with.
True.
And he's done way more than any of these guys have even come close to in their careers. So just his presence of stepping into the locker room and saying, I'm Xabi Alonso, they're going to do whatever that he tells them.
There's no management
So
needed.
there's
is what
very
you're
little
saying. Like, it's
management
just-
needed.
Everyone just gets
Exactly.
in line. Hell, yeah, you've won the Champions League, you've won a World Cup. Literally, you've done everything.
Yeah. So that's why for me, I'm like, he hasn't even had to really use the man management stuff. He's just going off on the tactics, and all the other stuff kind of just is done on its own because of who he was as a player. So for me, that's going to be the next question. Is I think he's going to win the Bundesliga. I don't think he's going to bottle it. I think they're going to win.
They'd have to. I mean, they're what? I think 8 points clear
They're
now.
11 points clear now.
Like it's.
So now let's say he goes to Liverpool or Bayern Munich, one of those. He's going to go to a top club, right? He's not going to risk staying at Leverkusen one more season and then it dropping off. So he goes to these clubs. Now it is going to be a little bit more man management because there are still, like, now he's dealing with Salah if he goes to Liverpool, Nunez, Van Dijk, right? So now he's dealing with real personalities. And is he going to be able to get the same out of them that he's getting out of the Leverkusen players? That's the question.
Yeah. And there's I would assume I don't know either one of them, but just listening to like him and Klopp talk, I feel there's a drastic difference in those types of personalities. You know what I mean? Not that like they're both good people, but
you
I
don't even
feel like Klopp is he wants to just go crazy all the time and like I don't want to say riot in the streets, but like party on for lack of a better term. You know what I mean? And he loves getting the crowd riled up and has that passion, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think Xabi Alonso is more of like Zinedine Zidane in his and Ancelotti in his demeanor.
Just like chill and calm.
Just a little bit more like classy, just
Yeah.
relaxed. Whereas Klopp is like, let's go. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But we'll move on from the Liverpool because I told you
There's 30 minutes of Liverpool.
30 minutes of Liverpool.
It's not Liverpool.
Listen,
You
let's
brought
talk
up
about
Xabi Alonso.
let's move on to someone who at this point in their career has much more experience than Xabi Alonso, much better manager, miles ahead of him, about to sign a contract extension at West Ham. David Moyes. Thomas, let's go. Here's your minute. Your minute starts now, Thomas. Let's go. What are your thoughts?
Tick. Yeah, he publicly came out and said that he's been offered this contract extension. He has till the end of the season to sort out whether or not he wants to take it, but I don't know that it's true.
You don't think that?
You think he just came out and just straight lied to the public? No, I'm good. I got a job offer, but
Well, I mean, he's gotten so much scrutiny over the last 3 results prior to the weekend here. I mean, what was it? 2, 3, like 9 goals against in the last 3 weeks. I mean, it's pretty rough. And then he comes out and says, well, I'm the only manager that's won a trophy. I mean, and now they're offering me a contract extension. I'm sorry, but I don't know. I don't think it's obviously he's gotten some kind of contract extension or he's talked to somebody, but why stay? The whole club wants you out. I speak on behalf of West Ham United. The whole club wants him out. He's taking him as far as he can.
They're
he's
in
proven
8th
it.
place, so they're tied. I think they're tied on points. To be honest, with
they
Brighton.
are with Brighton, yeah.
So they're tied on points with Brighton, and we always, again, it just depends on who we're talking about. Because if we're talking about Brighton, who's tied on points with West Ham, talk about what a job De Zerbi's done with Brighton and how good of a team they are and all this. And now we're talking about West Ham, and everybody wants David Moyes out. Now, do you think if he is being truthful about getting, which I would assume he is, about getting a contract extension, do you think he's going to take it?
I think that he's trying to speak it into existence, and I don't see why he would take it unless he does something miraculous in Europe. I don't see because I see us sitting at 10th at the end of the season in the Premier League. You know, hopefully above Newcastle and Chelsea, which were supposed to be pretty decent to begin the year. But I see us sitting mid-table just the same as when he came to the club.
No.
Okay.
No.
Just okay.
Georgie will
In
know.
between his stints of being with
Relegation battle.
In
And
be-
he took you guys out.
Europe took us out. Let's just
So was he the manager at the time?
yes, but he just came in. Come on.
So you guys were in the relegation battle.
Yeah.
And then he came and took you guys out. And now you guys are in what position?
So there were a couple things that saved us from that year, from the relegation battle.
But not David Moyes.
David Moyes does it, but it's the same as Sam Allardyce or the same as any other manager that comes in as an interim or a short-term manager or a short-term project. They come in, they save the club because we have the players for it. What we don't get is somebody to take us from that mid-table all the way up and then able to stay there.
You think Noble is the guy?
Listen.
No,
I would
David
take
Moyes is the guy. You sold Declan Rice, and I mean the fact that I think where you guys are without someone as amazing as Declan Rice, and as an Arsenal fan, watching him play this season, he's unbelievable.
I think,
and your guys are doing better without him. It's got to be management.
Absolutely. No. It doesn't have to be management. Look at the players around us. Also, the Arsenal game, I'm going to go ahead and say it so you guys can stop thinking about it. There's an asterisk on it.
What was the asterisk?
Well, in Rio, they hold the Carnival every year in February. Lucas Paqueta, somewhere, nowhere, injury, comes back the first game after the Carnival is over. He comes back, and all of a sudden we're winning again. You guys caught us on an off week. That's it.
It's a very bad off week.
Yeah. I was wondering where this was going, but yeah, for sure. Lucas Paqueta, it would have been way different if Lucas Paqueta
You might be reaching a little bit there.
It's not reaching. I mean...
This is the difference between Moyes and Allardyce and all those guys. They come in, they do the job in terms of getting the teams out of the relegation battle. But then the following season, they don't get into the top 6, 7. Those guys stay in the relegation battle. Sam Allardyce stays down there.
He keeps us mid-table every single time. Every time.
Well, mid-table is different than 6th.
That's not relegation, though. It's different than 14th or 16th.
Well, usually 10 to 14th are like 3, 4, 5 points. If you look at it right now, it's probably like 3 points.
Yeah.
But Sam Allardyce... So wait. Are you trying to tell me you would take Sam Allardyce over David Moyes right now?
No.
Okay, I was about to say, if you're going that far...
We're not in a relegation battle. We don't need him.
Look, the point is, I understand your point of David Moyes is taking you as far as he can. But I think that's with any manager that comes in at West Ham. Because you're not going to be better than Liverpool, Man City, Spurs, Arsenal.
You're just naming big six. Big six
you already
teams.
have automatically 4. You're fighting for 2 other spots if you want to be in the top 6.
A month ago, we were better than some of those teams that you just listed. Not in the table, but we had beaten them.
Well,
we had beaten them, which is
different. But that's different because a manager coming in, you're asking for that manager. So pretty much what would happen is you sack Moyes, who's getting you anywhere from 5th to 8th, let's say right now. So you sack him, and you expect this guy to come in and to take you in the top 4.
We need
be better.
We need somebody energetic to keep us in the top 6. We don't need to be in the top 4. We need to be in. We need to have that European slot every single time in case something happens in Europe where we're not invited back. We need somebody energetic to push the ball forward. We don't need that 86th minute sub to be putting an extra center defensive mid or an outside back or something like that in. We need somebody to come in and use what we have on the bench because we've paid for it. We've used the Declan Rice money very well, but if we're not using those players, I mean...
Okay, the Xabi from Brighton, would you take him? You guys in the same spot?
What's that?
You guys in the same position?
Yes, I absolutely love the way Brighton plays as well, so I would take him. They're always attacking.
Eddie Howe, would you take him?
Probably not.
So it's like you guys
Eddie
are
Howe's also sitting in, 11th?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. But he was highlighted as one of the
a year ago he was 4th.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is you're gonna have those 4 or 5 teams solidify the top 5, top 4, top 5, and then now you have West Ham who are trying to fight the Man Uniteds, spending millions. You have Newcastle supposedly going to spend just
Chelsea
as much.
spending billions.
Chelsea spending billions. So you have David Moyes fighting with those teams at the moment and still doing pretty good to be where you guys are now.
He's beating 2 of the 3 teams.
I think we're 7 points down from 5th or something like that.
Yeah,
so here's what I'm getting out of this. I think Thomas is less worried about the current position, more so about the potential of a new manager coming in and a good manager who still has more to give the club. So regardless if Eddie Howe or De Zerbi are in similar spots, it's just that they have more to offer West Ham than David Moyes can currently offer West Ham. But the problem is, though, even with that, like Georgie is saying, they're competing against teams that realistically they can't really compete against because of the financial stuff. So it doesn't really matter that much if you have a manager like that because they're essentially reaching their peak in terms of position in the table with what they have, regardless of who the manager is.
If FFP did their job and City, Chelsea, like, listen,
that's not
if
gonna
these guys
happen.
were actually,
I'm with you on
if,
that.
if
Let's
they
talk about
actually
that.
were punished for their sins,
Like Everton,
like Everton was,
Which-
which
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
make
Nottingham
sense,
Forest.
which doesn't make sense.
which they got 4 points back now, but whatever.
If they were actually punished, you would see the likes of West Ham maybe get that one momentum strike, or Aston Villa be able to push for the second spot or third spot or whatever it is in the table. You would see these smaller, massive but smaller clubs be able to fight for those spots, and then it's a swing.
Yeah.
I think though too, part of the thing is that I don't know if Javi, I thought you were gonna bring this point up is, so if you sack David Moyes, how many other coaches are going to get you further, are available, and real talk would want to go to West Ham?
Come on,
He's taking Noble. He doesn't care about anybody else.
I know, but again, has he
No.
proven that he can do? Is he someone that guarantees to give you the result that you want? Which is like, think about because I guess the way I look at it is best case scenario, if you get what you want out of Mark Noble, you are ahead 2 places. Worst case scenario, if you get Mark Noble, you are
League Two.
down 5 to 10 places, and you've also now brought in a club legend and done to him what Chelsea did to Lampard, where like to me they brought him in too early.
What, 2-3 times? already?
Multiple times. And you're not, and it's, I don't know, it's just a slippery slope with people
Yeah, I
like that,
agree.
you know, because he doesn't have the history of it.
I'm not saying
performance.
Nobes is the guy, right? I would love to see Noble wearing his suit jacket and everything over there on the sideline,
Would
keeping
you
his
like to-
composure.
would you like to see him in West Ham in 14th? While he's wearing the suit jacket?
I guarantee you that
Guarantee.
Scout's honor or something. I don't know. I promise that if Mark Noble was there, that whole stadium would light up and we wouldn't see 14th. We would sit between, I would say, 4th and 8th every single season that he sat there.
Every season. You heard it here first. Episode 40.
Episode
That's-
40.
That's a tough ask.
I think Mark Noble has to go somewhere, get some coaching experience at a decent club.
He's at our academy. What better club is there than West Ham's academy? It's the Academy of Football.
Like he's not going to get a big position coming out of West Ham.
No.
He's going to get some team in Scotland, or he's going to get
Go to
do it
Rangers.
like an Arteta did and go be an assistant for someone
Yeah.
really big. Go call Xabi Alonso and say, hey, do you need someone on your staff?
I think it's a timing thing. I think if I was a West Ham fan, I would love to see Mark Noble be the guy who takes us to another level. I just don't think it makes sense to risk it right now when he doesn't
Yeah.
have as much experience. And then like Joe said, you put him in a Lampard situation, and Lampard's a little bit different because managing Chelsea with all those personalities, it doesn't matter if you're a club legend because those guys that's a whole different
Yeah.
can of worms that you're opening up versus West Ham. He does have the respect from those players. So it's a little bit different, but I do also think it's similar in that way that I don't think the timing is right for Mark Noble to take over. I think David Moyes, though, I think he's going to stick around. They're going to offer him an extension. Probably not long, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, max. But he's not the type of guy not that he's not the type of guy, but most managers are never going to admit that there's something better for the club than them, and so they're going to step to the side. Arsene Wenger stayed at Arsenal 7 years too late. So I think David Moyes is going to be like, yeah, I'm the man for the job. I mean, he said it in that interview, basically saying I'm like the only guy who's gotten him to this point right now. So while I do get the sense that, Thomas, you do speak for the majority of West Ham fans, I don't think
I
he's
speak
actually
for the club.
Club spokesperson.
You talk to the board. I don't think that he's gonna step to the side and be like, yeah, this is what's best for the club. I'm out.
When did you guys win the Conference League?
What was that? That was 2023. What year
was last year?
It was 10 months ago. You guys were
Time's a
champions
blur.
of I won't say champions of Europe.
We're kings of Europe. if
Wait,
you will.
was he right? Was he, is Moyes right? He's the only one that.
In a very long time. The last international cup that we won was in '97 or something like that. The Inter Coco.
You guys are so ungrateful, man. He just won you a trophy not even a year ago, and you
George is
guys.
a huge David Moyes fan, by the way.
I'm not a David Moyes fan.
He's a loyalty fan.
You're
I'm
a
a loyalty.
you're a
He
hater.
also
hater.
almost lost us that.
Listen, loyalty
But he
is
did.
very rare these days. All right, yeah, go on.
This guy.
He almost also lost us that cup, right? And because he makes the same mistakes.
Oh my word.
He did it. He did
but
it. He did it the year before. He did it the year before in Europe. In the Europa.
He didn't almost do it. He didn't almost do anything except for win. Except
You
for
can't
win.
almost lose something that you weren't supposed to win in the first place.
How happy were you getting to the final?
I was ecstatic.
I was expecting it.
How happy were you when you won?
I was ecstatic.
And then
He
a
was
month
disappointed.
later, you're like, I hope David Moyes leaves.
I know. I was before that. I
because
literally
it's-
wanted him out before that.
Well, I know, but then so think about what you're saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys were in a relegation battle last season, and there was a very high likelihood you were going to go down. Was it last season or 2 seasons ago?
It was last season.
It was last season when he
It-
took over, right?
very
So-
beginning.
You were in a relegation battle. He takes over. You win a European Cup. He now has you in 8th place above Chelsea and Newcastle, and I think 2
Who
or 3
were just
points.
failing themselves,
Well,
though.
time out. 2 to 3 points behind Manchester United. All of those clubs spend way more money, have way bigger budgets, have way better players. And the solve is we need a new manager.
No. I'm gonna defend Thomas a little bit here. I'm gonna defend you a little bit here, Thomas. I'm gonna help you out because clearly it's getting close to being 3-1 here.
We are attacking Thomas. hey, come on to the podcast so we can yell at you.
I understand, like the style, like it gets
annoying to watch, probably.
It brings me similar vibes to when Rafa was at Liverpool, right? Liverpool were okay for a year. He won the Champions League, and then we go back to like 5th, and then everyone was like, "Oh, Rafa out." And then similar to Arsene Wenger, everybody's like, "Well, we want to win the league. We want to win the league." But you guys keep getting top 4. Be careful what you wish for. You get rid of Arsene Wenger, and then look what happens.
7 years without the top. Without
7 years
Champions League.
without. So it's a very slippery slope in terms of, yes, Arsene Wenger, we want you out because we want to move on. You've been here too long. However, you've been getting top 4.
Yeah.
And to get top 4 in the Premier League, that's pretty damn massive.
It's actually it's a good point you bring up because like part of me is looking at. I was one of the people who wanted Arsene Wenger out, like towards the end. Not that I have anything against Arsene Wenger, but I thought it was time for him to move on. And I was like, we need someone that's going to take us further. And
Similar
if that's what you want, you have to then be okay with if you make that decision. There's a high likelihood you're going to drop back before you spring forward. Like there's very few people I think bring in that you can get a guaranteed pop from. It would be different, I think, if you guys were a Manchester United, if you guys were a Barcelona, because there's so many more people that want those jobs that can give you that pop and have that credibility right off the bat. And I guess that's the thing that if I was a West Ham fan, I look at it as if we're getting results. I don't want to say regardless of how we play because I think playing how you play is important. But if we are getting results better than what our team is, unless there's somebody that's like a perfect match, kind of let the cards play out with David Moyes until that happens. Just because the downside, like the risk to reward to me is not there. But I can see it too if you're a fan and you just hate the way that they play and you hate watching them every week. No offense, I don't watch West Ham really ever unless we play them.
Offense taken.
Well, but
Really,
here's
wait,
the-
hold on, really quick before
Javi defends you.
Haji
Your minute is over, Thomas.
Haji Bautista defends me. We've got reasons to come to West Ham. We have Lucas Paqueta, absolutely fantastic, right? We have the players on the wings between Kudus and Jared Bowen. It's fun. People want to coach these guys. But then look in the back office where we have Tim and now Moritz Steindon, where it's like those guys are recruiting these players that are just absolutely fantastic. Who wouldn't want to come and manage and see what happens from it? And right now the bricks are laid, right? So a building process has already been started, and before David Moyes ruins what he's laying down and starts laying down bricks that are crooked, let's get somebody else in that can use this foundation and actually build on top of it.
You've got this.
Go on, Javi.
You're not,
No.
That's
Go
right.
on.
No, I guess that's you do have exciting up and coming players who I think can be really good. Kudos is a prime example of that, and I guess the type of the best case scenario I think for West Ham is to get a manager like Unai Emery, for example, who has played at it or has coached at middle tier clubs or has had opportunities at big clubs that didn't really work out, and they could then come and use this as like their rebound thing, if that makes sense. So like Eddie Howe is somebody I think of, if he ends up getting sacked at Newcastle, if they continue to underperform till the end of the season, like maybe somebody like him would be open to it to be the place that like rebounds his career. If that, do you get where I'm coming from with that? But I don't know. We'll let Javi defend because I don't.
Well, no. Here's what I think. First of all, Joe, you brought up a good point. Like and you as well, Georgie. It's a risk because if they do get somebody else and then it goes downhill, that's the huge risk that you're taking. It's a bigger risk for West Ham than it was for Arsenal, than it was for Liverpool, because West Ham's never been a big club. Arsenal, Liverpool. I'm going to be honest. Look, here's the thing.
Wait, is he defending
At
you
Arsenal,
or is it this?
So let me tell you how much your club's. I got your back. Let me tell you how much your club sucks.
A little bit. At Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea, you could go through these moments where you take this risk to say, you know what, he's a good manager, but we're gonna take the risk. And even if the risk doesn't pay off, it will in the future because everybody will still want to coach.
Because you can get a replacement quick.
Yeah, you can get a really good replacement, and you have the money and the resources to be able to take them back where they need to be because of the history of the club. West Ham could be one of those where, seriously, if they play this card and it's a risk, and this risk doesn't pay off, it can be very difficult for them to ever come back. They could essentially drop and get relegated. Whereas Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, regardless of the risk that they take, they'll be able to fix it before they get to the relegation zone or before they get relegated.
Speak for yourself. We had Roy Hodgson as our coach.
So what I'm saying is this. Is that the risk is greater at West Ham if you want to make a change for the coaches because they don't have the history to be able to So but here's where
here's the defending. Here's
where I defend Thomas.
Here's
where I defend Thomas. I truly believe that I don't believe in the saying like if it's not broke, don't fix it. Because I think right now everybody's saying it's like, well, it's not broke, let's not touch it. Because at some point it's going to go downhill. And I think that's what Thomas is scared of, is that, like he said, at some point David Moyes is going to start laying some crooked bricks and then it's just going to go downhill. I think they're at a pivotal moment where they have to make a decision like, shit, do we take the risk? Because we're in a really good spot right now. We have some good up and coming players. We could probably get a pretty good coach. Could we take the risk to take us from being a club that's in the relegation battle or in the in spots 14 to 18 or whatever, or can we take that risk and actually try and push us to be consistently a top 7 club? So like this is the moment to do that. This is the moment to say like, yeah, let's get rid of Moyes. He's taken us as far as he could. Let's get somebody who's legit, or let's get somebody who we really believe in to build, and hopefully the risk pays off. However, that's what I'm saying, is that if the risk doesn't pay off, you guys could be in the championship.
If I was a gambling man,
which you are,
high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Right? If it does work out, so be it. If it doesn't work out, so be it.
Does Graham Potter come back and this is the resurgence of Graham Potter?
Gross.
Take that as a nope.
Okay, before
you wouldn't
we
take
move on,
someone like Graham Potter?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Who would you take? Right. Well, Mark Noble aside, who else would you take?
I don't know, to be honest.
His plan is sack him
that's
first,
fair though.
figure it out
It's like,
later.
I really don't know. There's candidates, but whether or not they're going to leave or whatever it is, I could say any name in the world, but it's like, are they willing to leave their club to come to West Ham? Anybody wants to coach in the Premier League, right? Or a big club somewhere else, the AC Milans, the Real Madrids, something like that, the Bayern Munichs. But I mean, is somebody going to leave just to come to West Ham? Are they going to be the right fit just because they want that slot? I don't know.
Areola from Bournemouth. That's the one.
Georgie really likes him.
He's good.
That's the one.
Yeah, he's been good.
They beat us too.
The risk that you guys have to take is you guys have to take a risk from, like, in an upcoming manager, somebody who's young, somebody who might not have as much experience, but somebody who's doing some pretty good things around that's maybe still flying under the radar. You guys aren't going to get any big name manager to come and want to coach you unless it's a manager that's already past their prime. Like you might get Mourinho. Mourinho might want to come, but Mourinho's like, realistically, that's not somebody who you guys are going to want to build a long-term future with. So I think you guys have to do some really good scouting to look at some young up-and-coming coaches and say like, hey, it's a huge risk, but we're invested and we'll take it. Problem
with that, though, if you get, let's say you do bring let's assume it all goes right. You bring in a young up-and-coming coach and you have a bunch of pretty young and up-and-coming players. Like, that is a recipe for that. None of them will be at West Ham in 3 years. Because imagine you do what you're saying. We bring in a great coach who's young and up-and-coming. We bring in Eddie Howe, Graham Potter. Who was the guy you said? Areola, right? And all of a sudden you finish second. All of a sudden you finish third. You're ecstatic. I can almost guarantee you when that date happens, that coach is gone, Kudus is gone, Bowen is gone, and most of the players there then are gone because they're going to use it for what they intended at like initially, which was to use it as a springboard. Like that's the other part of it too, where
that still puts them in a better spot because then that still puts them with more managers who want to coach them because they finished second. More players who are going to want to come play for them because they finished second. So even if it's just a one season thing, even if it's like, man, we had a really good season, that still puts them in a better spot where they closer to where they want to go.
I don't know because I'm not there. I've seen many videos and many interviews and stuff like that, but the West Ham family, like inside the building, it's like contagious, right? It's genuinely a family. It's not business. Yes, it is, but it's contagious once you get there. It's the reason Calvin Phillips came because Declan Rice told him, like, if you're going to go anywhere, go to West Ham. Like, that's what he says. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's not, you could say that about a lot of other places. That's not going to.
You're not going to say it about the Big Six. You're not going to say that.
But that's not going to convince. Yeah, but if you told me, hey, the environment is fantastic, it's a really good family environment at West Ham, but I also have an offer for Chelsea or Liverpool or City, which one is one of those players going to take? Yeah. A top player.
I'm talking about managers. So like a manager once he goes in the door and he sees that and he's taken care of and treated
You're
well.
Saying
and
that'll be a stickiness factor. So if a young and up and coming manager comes, they
might
may
give us
stay
6 or 7
because
years,
you are in London. You guys do have a big stadium. You have a good fan base. That if done right, if you could get someone like a Klopp who can reinvigorate the fans and engage them, I see what you're saying. That like they would stay. There's no chance.
Do you want to say it?
I was going to make the joke, but I'm not. It's not even. It's not.
Why do you think he's leaving, Georgie?
For West Ham, yep. That's exactly the
For
reason.
sure.
All right, the minute is over. Your minute is over, Thomas. That's enough of West Ham talk today.
So Brendan Rodgers hit us. Okay.
Yeah. So Big Sam's coming. So this is an interesting one. I saw this. Georgia, you said that there's already a guy at Liverpool who's doing this, but Manchester United, Tom Huddlestone, I think is his name.
Huddleston.
Yep.
Huddlestone.
Yeah. The Spurs guy.
Yeah, he's playing. Yeah.
Wait, I'm not confusing him with the actor, am I? His name is actually Tom, right? His first name is actually Tom.
Yeah, Tom Huddleston.
What actor are you thinking of?
There's an actor.
There's a famous actor whose last name is Huddlestone.
Really?
It's the Loki, isn't Loki? Isn't that Loki?
I don't know.
I think that's
I want to
Loki.
look it up now because I don't know who you're talking about.
Look up Huddlestone actor. I'm pretty sure that's Loki. I don't want to be
Tom Hiddleston is lucky.
See, so I'm close.
So close. You're very close, yeah. And then
But the other guy is Tom. Is it Tom Huddlestone?
Huddleston.
Huddleston. But is it Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
both
Just making sure.
Played at Spurs and then played for, I don't know.
So this guy's like
weird
35
transfer.
years old or 37 years old, something crazy like this. So this is an interesting topic because the player manager role has been around for a long time. There's been player managers, but it's exactly how they're being used specifically at Manchester United and Liverpool that is interesting to me. So typically when you talk about a player manager, you talk about somebody who's like getting close to retiring, but still wants to continue playing, but is transitioning into a coaching role. So it's like a way to
Carrick, I think, did it for a little bit at United, where he was like on the bench and stuff, rarely played, but he was like looked at as an assistant coach more than player.
So it's a good, it's good for the player or the coach because it's like you're saying, here's what we're going to do to kind of further your career long after you're done playing. However, the way that they're using it now is less about the player and more for the club. So instead of saying like, finish off your career and then go into a coaching role, they're saying like, no, we don't care about your career. It's not really about your career. You're good enough to still play. However, we want you to actually be a coach on the field, and your role is more for the players than it is for you. So that's an interesting concept. That's an interesting concept because think about it. Let's say these guys are actually they're in the room with the coach all the time. They're talking tactics. They're talking about all this. Now they're actually getting put in the middle of the action, and their job is to direct while essentially be a full-time manager on the pitch.
It's like you stepping into a training session with your kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially.
That's exactly it, right? It's like it's not about whether I'm not looking to play. I'm really just looking as a way of being able to manage while I'm on the field, which brings an interesting. It's difficult. The reason why it's difficult is most people, by the time they're actually good coaches, they're way too old to play at that point.
Yeah.
Right? So these guys are typically still young guys who are trying to transition in. But if you could get somebody who's 35, 36 years old with already 4 or 5 years of coaching experience and they can still play, and you throw them into the academy, I think that's actually really cool. I think that's kind of cool. We were talking about rule changes or things that we would add to make the game more interesting. And I said put an earpiece into the captain and have him talk to the coach throughout the whole game. But this is essentially a better version of that. The only bad part is if the guy is crap, he's crap, and now the team is bad. But when you're talking about using him for the academy, to push the academy forward so that you can get these teams higher up, Mark Noble,
I'm just
36 years old. Oh, Mark Noble's 36 years old. Look
So
at
you're
that.
saying have him play and coach for West Ham?
It's a good thing for the academy, right? Like maybe not for the first team necessarily, because you're going to be able to have somebody who's that good of a coach to do that specific role, who's good enough to play at that level.
Yeah.
But for the academy, you can, because the academy is a little bit easier. So I'm curious.
But then you take away playing time from Freya again.
Sure, you take away a little bit of playing time, but it's 1/11th of what you're taking away.
Also, yeah, does the playing time you take away from one player, but the positive impact that there is to the other 10 that are playing, like I would assume it probably would.
Like the
if there's
Liverpool
like a
guy.
scoreboard, that would be a net positive over time, assuming.
Like Jay Spearing, he used to play for Liverpool back in the day. Now he coaches whatever it is, or academy. But he's always on the bench. He's not really, like he comes on sometimes, but he's just there.
So he's still kind of like the older version of the, because this guy at Manchester United, they're specifically putting him on
Just to like help out.
just to help
Yeah.
actually coach, which I thought was interesting.
I think it's an awesome idea.
So I should call somebody at Liverpool and tell them to not just put me on the bench. And
I just wonder if more clubs will start doing that. It's hard because you also have to try and find somebody who's probably been at the club, so they understand the philosophy long enough. And again, someone who's legitimately a coach, not just a player who wants to stick around, and coaching is the next best thing.
One thing that might,
Interesting.
to see how it goes.
Thomas, your minute is over, man.
Sounds like you could do this for liquid football.
Honestly, yeah. Like, so Georgie kind of does it, right?
Right.
It's kind of the same. So Georgie's got much better experience in terms of like playing at a higher level. So he goes on, and naturally, the type of player he is, he naturally wants to organize and stuff like that. But I just think like taking it to the next step with Georgie at Liquid Football would be like if Georgie and I sit down and I say, look, this is how I want us. And it's a summer season. So if this was like an actual year-long thing, we'd actually be able to plan, do some film prep, like prepare for opponents, where we don't really do that in the summer league. Mm-hmm. But if like it would be like me and Georgie sitting down and I'm saying like, look, this is how we're going to play. This is what I want you to be telling the guys, and this is what I want you to make sure stays organized at all times. Or these are the moments where we want to counterattack and things like that. And Georgie's sole focus is to make sure that everyone understands that. So he's like constantly talking, and it's and if the players understand that, they're much more receptive to the information, right? Like some players are going to be playing with Georgie, and they're not going to listen to him because he's still one of the players. So not that they won't listen to him, but they're also going to be like, no, Georgie, you should have done this, you should have done that. But if we're like, hey, Georgie is a coach on the field,
Right.
he's going to tell you what to do, and they understand that, they'll listen to everything that he's telling them to do.
There's talks at DCFC about it at one point.
Yeah, they did want you to do that, right?
Yeah. I declined.
respectfully.
Respectfully, yeah. But that's the thing. Like for me, for example, with like DCFC, at the time I just wanted to be a player because once you cross the line, it becomes very tricky in the locker room.
You're like not part of the locker room the same way as much as you're
exactly.
like
So
you're like the teacher's pet, for lack of a better term.
And I didn't like that. And I was like, no, I
want to be one voice.
I just want to concentrate on playing, and here I am.
Well, but that's what I was saying. The role has been around for a while.
Yeah.
The hard part is getting someone to understand, like, look, your playing days are really over.
Yeah.
You're just helping us push the next group forward. For a lot of players, that's hard to understand. Like for Georgie, he could have done it, and it probably wouldn't have been that much different than what he was doing. Mm-hmm. But in his head, he was like, you're trying to get me to retire.
Yeah.
and I still want to play as long as I can. So like that's why he
You
didn't want
need
to
an
focus on-
individual that wants to be a coach first, but just happens to still be good enough for that, or just to go. If you just go down one level, if you're a if you're an EPL player with Huddleston going down a level, like he could probably do that for 5 more years and still be
just
top
as good
tier.
as-
I honestly could have done that at DCFC. I think Trevor had mentioned it a couple times. The problem with me was physically I wasn't able to I don't think I was able to really get to that point to make a difference to
actually be on the field a lot.
play significant amount of time. Yeah. I would have been and I played a couple times when we needed players, but I mean more than 20 minutes. And I would have probably done it had I actually been approached and said look, we think this would be really interesting and could benefit us. I probably would have done it. But in that moment I was just I don't think physically I can get to that, especially at that level. I don't think I could get to that playing level anymore.
Yeah.
But which is why I said it's hard to find someone who's able to do it. However, again, this is more so focused on the academy rather than the first team.
Yep.
So if we would have had an academy and they would have said that, I would have been that's not a problem. But interesting.
Wonder if any of those. I could see this happening more and more often as people transition from Europe to the MLS. Mm-hmm. If they're interested in getting into coaching, coming here and doing that exact thing here. I don't think Messi has any interest in coaching, so I don't think he would do it. But I could see someone like Busquets being interested in coaching.
Wayne Rooney.
And him doing it. Yeah,
Wayne Rooney
He did
it.
He did it. David
Right. Good
Beckham
example.
did it.
Yeah.
So,
but again, not fully for the benefit of the club, more so for the transition of the player.
yeah.
But just something to keep an eye on because I wonder if it pays off at Manchester United. Let's say they do this for a few years, and then next thing you know, they have a lot more academy kids. If Liverpool, you guys have a whole academy playing on the top team right now because of injuries. But if they could find a way to directly tie that into some sort of an effect from the player coming in as a coach, a lot more teams would be doing it. Because if they can that's one of the main focuses for clubs is how many academy kids can they get to actually progress into the first team? Mm-hmm. Because eventually you'll be able to sell them, and then the club financially is in really good standing.
Conspiracy theory maybe with that.
What's the conspiracy theory?
Is Klopp setting Virgil van Dijk up for this exact thing? Because he's one of the only consistent starters when you keep bringing on Klopp's kids. He's played in both cup games.
He's the only one healthy, though. He
played it both. Hey, I'm going to need you to play with these teenagers. We're grooming you to be my replacement. And next season, Virgil van Dijk's going to do all of it. He's going to captain the club.
And he's doing the same thing to Harvey Elliott, too.
Huh?
Harvey Elliott, the same thing.
Well, but I think if your whole 11's fit, Harvey Elliott doesn't make the team. I don't think.
Yeah.
If your top 11's fit, he's probably one of the first players off the bench, I'd say. Because you're going probably with what? In the midfield? McAllister, Szoboszlai, Endo maybe?
Yeah.
Or Thiago probably, if everyone's fit maybe. But that I don't think is ever going to happen.
Yeah.
How crazy is it, though, that Harvey Elliott is one of the senior players right now on your squad? Because that dude not too long ago was an academy
He
kid.
was like the young guy.
Yeah.
He still is. He's super
That's
young.
crazy.
But
He is 21. It's crazy.
That's crazy. All right. Let's move on, though, from that. Just really quickly. I don't know, just because I wrote it down. How would you feel if you guys got fired, or not fired from your job, but terminated your contract because you have a Tinder profile? Did you read
No. That's not what it was.
What was it?
It's because he was wearing the Besiktas jersey.
Right.
And that's different. And he took a picture with it on. It says, I'm going to play for Besiktas, and you have the logo on Tinder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From the club. That's different than having a Tinder profile.
Like if he would have had one and he would have just said professional footballer,
yeah, that's different.
He would have been fine. But because it was all the associations back to the club,
Yeah,
it
of
was
course.
like, what are you doing? Stop.
It's like me taking a picture of DCFC jersey, acting sweet, and then putting DCFC's logo and the name.
What I'm saying is that if he's like sending nude pictures or something and he's wearing the jersey, he's got a scarf or something like that, or like he's using the club to do something that's like bad, then I could see them being like, "No, you can't be wearing our stuff when you're doing this." However, he's just got a dating profile. Like he's not lying, is he? He plays for Besiktas.
So in the statement that the club released, it said that they were disappointed that they felt as if he was using the club as promoting himself on Tinder, and he lied about his age on there. So they said that his dishonesty also leads the club to believe that maybe there's other things in his life that aren't necessarily to their moral standards.
Fair enough.
First of all, what a dumbass. Why would you lie about your age?
Yeah, I don't
if you play for
understand
Besiktas, anyone
How
can
old is
Google
he?
it. I have no idea.
I don't know how old he is. He said he was 21 on the app.
So he's probably younger or
Yeah,
older.
but
I don't know. We
probably-
matched last week.
I mean, all I'm saying is that like there's, I don't know. He's not doing anything that's.
I see
Yeah,
what you're
but
saying.
I just don't think like any. I think it will happen with any club.
Yeah.
I honestly think if Arsenal player, Liverpool, anyone put the jersey on, and it's not so much the Tinder profile; it's you
Right,
wearing the
It's
jersey.
you're associating
Now-
yourself instead of as you as an individual. You're
Yeah.
associating yourself as a representative of the club. Like I am a Arsenal player instead of like I'm a professional footballer. My name is
Yeah, but let me put this in there in front. And I know this is a fictional situation, but Ted Lasso. In the show, they had a partnership with the dating app.
Yeah.
Remember that? And she was like, "Oh, I'm going to set up dating profiles for all of you guys."
Yeah.
And the whole point, they used it as like press sponsorship of them having dating profiles with the stuff.
But that's
With the
different.
AFC Richmond.
It was a
it's-
show.
It's
Right.
Well, no, but if
It's a show and it's a sponsorship.
if Tinder was the sponsor for Besiktas, then I'm pretty sure it'd be completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not. So now,
All I'm saying though is that he's not. I mean, yes,
didn't do
the
anything
age,
really
the age,
bad.
he's lying. So that part, if they would have said like he lied about his age and that's why, fair
Oh.
enough.
He
But if
claimed
it's,
he was 24. He's 21.
okay, but if it's just the fact that they're not happy that they're being associated with Tinder because it's not a good look for them, I'm just like I get that. I guess I get that too. It's just a little bit like it's not that. Like
No, it's
nowadays,
not.
everyone has a dating profile,
yeah.
Yeah.
so it's not that big of a deal, right?
I mean, a lot of clubs are sponsored by dating like apps or companies and stuff like that.
But listen, fair enough. I get it. Poor guy. He had to choose women or his football club, and I guess he made the wrong decision. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
So what happens if I say I wear a Liverpool jersey and I go to Liverpool and I make a Tinder?
Same thing.
I mean,
probably?
nothing would really happen to me because I'm not associated with Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool would let you go.
However, people are gonna think I'm Darwin, and then it
And
gets
then he's in
good.
legal trouble.
And yeah, that's true. Change my. Can you? Yeah.
Defamation.
So we can talk about our Copa America plans later because we're already an hour and 20 minutes into this podcast.
Yeah, people have
So
already
we can
stopped
talk
watching
about,
about,
we can
an
talk
hour
about
ago.
it. But I do want to. We skipped the wild card segment last time. I don't want to skip it this time. I'm genuinely curious. I'm not genuinely curious. I know how. Listen, Georgie talks to me. So the wild card segment. Before I go any further, the wild card segment is something just completely random. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Bitcoin, completely unrelated to football. So most people, I mean, all three people who are watching this have already exited out. So this is just, I guess, for us. Bitcoin right now is popping, according to Georgie and Joe. There's some improvement. Georgie talks to me about Bitcoin like I know what the hell he's saying. It's so annoying.
Well,
He's like, "Oh, we're gonna sell into the pump." I'm like, "Okay, the fuck? What do you think I?"
it sounds just weird to.
He just keeps. But the thing is, Joe, he doesn't acknowledge that I'm telling him this, so he continues to tell me things that I don't understand.
Yeah.
So give us a recap. First of all, what's going on with Bitcoin, and why should we invest in it right now?
Well, first of all, not financial advice because I'm not telling anybody to do anything. You can do whatever you want. The second thing
Disclaimer.
is, Bitcoin a year ago or so was around $15,000 for one Bitcoin. Right now, I mean, I haven't checked in the past 2 hours, but it's above $60,000.
6
Wait,
to
it was
1K.
15,000?
15.
1.5.
When?
12 months ago.
12 months ago.
Yep.
Last January.
Wow.
So, obviously, in the past 15 years or so, since Bitcoin was created, it's been up and down, up and down, up and down. However, it's been making higher highs as the years
goes.
go.
Yep.
So when I first got into crypto was right before COVID. Bitcoin was around 30,000, and that's when the bull market was like heating up. Bull market is like when everything pumps, which everything increases in price. So, for example, when I got in, I was like, "Oh my god, what is this?" When I first bought, I was like, "This thing from 30,000 went to 37 in like 2 hours. This is insane." So then you just learn a little bit more about it. Then it went up to 69,000 or 68,780, whatever it is, as the top. That was 3 years ago now. And then it just went down to 15,000, like we said, in the past 3 years. So now it's going back up. And obviously, if you're a believer, you think is going to go up to 300K, 400, 500, 1 million, whatever you think the end is. So that's.
So I was talking to Joe about this before you guys got here. I was telling him the main problem I see with Georgie investing in crypto is this: is that Georgie always sees the potential, never the realistic withdrawal. Like Georgie sees a number, and he's like, "Wow," but that number is not actual physical money. So, like for example, Bitcoin gets to let's say Georgie in his Bitcoin account has $10 million.
Damn, that'd be nice.
He's not using that $10 million, and he's never going to cash it out, no matter what. So there's times where I'm like, why haven't you cashed out and made money? And he's like, well, I have made money. I mean, no, you haven't, because not a single one of these dollars have you actually used for anything. Like you've never taken your money out and said, finally, I'm going to buy a house with this money.
Correct.
I feel the same way.
So like that's my problem with Georgie, is that like he has never been like, you know what, this is the time where I should take this money out. So for me, you're always going to lose, because you're always thinking like, oh, it could go a little bit more, it could pump a little bit more, it could pump a little bit more, and you're watching it pump a little bit more, but you're never actually going to pull the trigger to take it out. And then eventually what happens is it drops, and then you're like, crap, I lost all that money.
You don't lose
And I think,
until
you
you
know
sell.
what?
Can I hop in here?
Hold
at
on,
any
just
point?
one more thing.
I'll just raise my hand.
I think you are actually more likely to take money out when you lose than you are when you eventually win.
Wow.
I think you're closer to saying like, screw it, I'm taking the money out that I have left now, versus actually saying, oh man,
Before you get in, Joe, to respond to that, first of all, you don't lose until you sell. So
Gains and losses are never realized until you exit. Yeah, until you exit the position.
So, like, for example, if I didn't sell, like, and you're right, a lot of people do that because they panic and they get scared and they're like, oh my gosh, I should have never done this. Sell at a 80% loss. What makes you think if I bought in the last bull market at $60,000, which is what it is now, I did buy at these prices because I had no idea. I was brand new into it. I bought into 60, 65,000. If I didn't sell at 15,000, what makes you think I'm going to sell ever?
20,000.
No, but that's the same thing for the winning.
It's not, because you have to have a plan. My plan is once it hits a certain number that I look forward to when I first got into it. And again, I have two portfolios. You have the trading one and you have a holding one. The holding one, I'm going to hold and I'm going to sell into, again, the pump as the price targets hit. So you always have to have a plan. You can't just... When I first got into it, I didn't have a plan. I was just like, I'm buying and hell yeah, it's going to 1 million, baby. And then you quickly realize it doesn't work like that. Whatever goes up must come down. Whatever comes down, it goes back up. Stocks, same thing. Markets, any markets around the world, same thing. History always repeats itself. And that's the most important thing. But you're right, because a lot of people buy and they're inexperienced and they overinvest. Like I did, I overinvested. But they panic and they sell and they get scared. And they're like, fuck, my $10,000 I invested a month ago was worth $500. I'm going to sell. Might as well get something out of it. Once you sell and it goes back up, you're going to hate yourself even more than if you would have just lost the 500. So
is it protected?
No.
So it's not protected. So what happens if the governing body of this Bitcoin, and I don't know anything about it. What happens if the governing body of this, let's say hypothetically the market crashes next year, let's say whatever the world currency is at the time crashes, and the governing body decides to take all of that money that they're holding on to and just dip off to an island?
So, well, the way that Bitcoin and crypto works is like to buy or sell it, you go onto an exchange. So you take $100, you put it onto exchange, you deposit the money there. You then buy, let's say, Bitcoin. And then you can do one of a few things. You can either leave the Bitcoin with the exchange, so they're holding it. Similarly to like when you put your money in a bank, you don't actually hold your money. Sure. Like all of our money that we own, like US dollars, you probably don't have it sitting under your mattress, sitting in your car, sitting in your wallet. The vast majority of it is in a bank, so held by them. So that process, if you leave it in an exchange, is the same thing, just in a different avenue in terms of where your money is.
But the bank's protected.
Yes and no. Banks are only protected up to $250,000. So
I don't have that.
I know, but there's a lot of people who do have that. That if
Sure.
you're Jeff Bezos and you have billions of dollars, and I keep it in a bank, if I had $10 billion and that bank goes under, like most of these regional banks are right now, I would get paid $250,000 through the FDIC for my $10 billion that I had in the bank, which is insane.
Sure.
The advantage of something like Bitcoin and crypto is after I've purchased that Bitcoin, I can then take it off of the exchange and I can hold it myself. And you can hold it yourself in what's known as a hot wallet, which is a wallet attached to the internet, or in what's known as a cold wallet, which is not attached to anything, which would be like a thumb drive. And you can then take that thumb drive and unless someone got access to your key, which is 12 phrases, 12 words, no one could ever take that from you. Even if they actually took the hard drive, you could still access the funds as long as you remembered or wrote down what those 12 words were. Does that make sense? As long as you
Sure.
can get access to the internet. And the cool part about Bitcoin to this governing body piece, as long as your money's not in an exchange, there is not a governing body that can take it from you.
Okay.
Because Bitcoin is it's a technology that was created, not a company. No one runs it. And what it is, it's a bunch of different people all over the world with computers cross-referencing and checking each other every 10 minutes to make sure that everything's accurate. Once they all agree it's accurate, they post that data to the blockchain. Anything
Sure.
there that I misexplained or that you would change?
No.
So let me ask a question, I guess, because this is the first time I'm really
You're actually listening to this.
I'm actually well no I'm curious because also anybody who's watching this is like the first time we ever talk
Yeah.
about it, so some people might be like me, I have no fucking clue, to be honest, about any of this stuff. I don't really care. I tried it once, it didn't work out. I was like, I'm out. But anyway, so you're saying you can have it in exchange, you can have it in essentially like a thumb drive.
Yep.
So like it's similar to me what I have on these memory cards. Information, electronic information. So explain to me what exactly is a Bitcoin then?
Well, he kind of just did.
Yeah, so it's a data set that you have rights to that data set. So it's
So weird.
It's a different sequence of so this is where I'm not an engineer.
It's blockchain.
So like
Yeah, I don't know what blockchain is.
So think about if
Just coding.
so what
Just
let
coding.
me ask you a
Yeah.
different question. Let's say you have $100 in your bank with Chase. That's 100 single dollar bills. Do you care what single dollar bills they give you back? Like, because each dollar bill has a barcode on it.
No, yeah, of
correct?
course, no.
So that's the kind of difference about crypto is that Bitcoin, like they're all their own unique coins.
Right.
So imagine thinking it like it's its own barcoded thing. And the only way to get access to that specific thing with that barcode
Yeah.
is with the password.
So
it's like if you deposited your money in the bank, but these were my $100 bills. I don't want you to give me anyone else's $100 bills. These are my 100. I remembered the barcodes on every single one or the number or whatever on every single dollar. So when you go to the bank and you get it back, that was mine.
Yeah.
And the difference is you can hold it yourself.
in simple terms, it's the barcode that
Yeah.
the dollar has.
Think of it, yeah.
So
I guess
it's
like
if
an
I had
electronic barcode.
Yeah, the barcode.
That is password.
And there's only X amount Bitcoin.
But that was my next question. How is there only X amount? Why can't I just make if it's not regulated by anything, if nobody ever really created it?
Well, remember
How-
when I said that all the computers are checking it all the time? So the only way that a block can be posted to the chain is if all the mining computers agree that the block that's being posted is accurate. So you can't falsify it unless you...
But how do you add more then?
Well,
What do you mean?
Satoshi already made X
21 million.
amount.
There's 21 million made initially when Satoshi
Okay, so
released
there's no
Bitcoin.
more Bitcoin. Okay, so there's no more Bitcoin that could ever be created.
Yes,
correct.
It's only the value of those Bitcoin that can go up.
Correct.
Yeah.
So those 21 million Bitcoin are divided by however many people there are in the world that own them.
Not yet, because they're not out yet.
93%.
Right. So there's still a
is
few
circular.
out there, whatever, that maybe
Yeah.
haven't been
Mined.
fair enough. But what I'm saying is, yeah. So it's not like I can just go in there. So that makes sense to me now because it's not like I can just go in there, look at the coding of all of these, decipher it, and say, okay, well, if I just add a 3 and a 4 and a 5 here, I'm essentially making my own Bitcoin now, and I have a new Bitcoin. That wouldn't work. because-
Technically, you can make something like that. It won't be Bitcoin.
Right.
You're
It'd
gonna
be
make
my
your
own-
own currency.
right.
You can make the
And
Javi
if you
coin.
tried to falsify it, like it would get proven in like the algorithm. Like,
But there's a
their
way.
computers.
There's a way to authenticate.
Yeah,
That you can't just make new Bitcoin. You can't just somebody can't just be a genius hacker and figure out the
So
coding.
so that's actually the thing. first and foremost, Georgie's been in Bitcoin and crypto way longer than I have, and I have a few friends that I work with and other people that I've met that have talked about it. And honestly, I want to say thank you to everyone who's ever talked to me about it, because it's one of those things that like you do have to hear about it multiple times. Yeah. And one of my coworkers always told, last year I was looking at where should I put my money, where should I invest my money, where should I invest my money. He's like, you should put it into Bitcoin. I'm like, I don't believe it. I don't trust it. It's at 16K. That's insane. Is it going to come down? He goes, I think maybe, but it might not. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, it's at 30K. I'm like, damn, I should have bought it at 16. Eventually got in. Now it's at 60. But back to the whole hacking piece. Satoshi, when he created the technology, gave himself or herself or their self, because it could be multiple people.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows who this person is. 1 million Bitcoin. Put them in a wallet. And you can see, like, there's the wallets all have addresses. And all of the addresses are public, and you can see all
that
of it.
wallet belongs to someone.
So there's a wallet, the wallet of Satoshi, that has 1 million Bitcoin. So I want you to think about that for a minute. 1 million Bitcoin valued at $62,000 currently.
Do the math, Georgie.
Has never spent any of it. None of his Bitcoin, their Bitcoin, her Bitcoin, has ever moved. That, to your point, if there was a hacker out there that could crack into Bitcoin, there is a consistent bounty sitting there asking people to hack every single day. And every day that passes and every month and every year that passes where it's Bitcoin continues to go up, that bounty gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and more lucrative. But as time goes, it almost is the proof of concept of it. Like, it just proves it can't be hacked. Because if no one could hack it the first year when it wasn't worth anything, more people are going to try it the second year. More people are going to try it the 10th year. We're, 15 years in now? And Bitcoin's going to pass its all-time high at some time this year. So getting that would make you one of the top 50 wealthiest people in the entire planet, and no one has taken it. So that almost proves how unhackable it is.
Yeah, but there's other issues that come with it besides the hacking part.
Can I go back really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you have the exchange, or you can have it in your wallet, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What happens, once again, let's say the Greater Depression happens or whatever, where the exchange completely folds. You have it in your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it, so I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
No, but the reason why he's laughing is because
It happened to me.
Okay, so it happens. You have it in your wallet. The exchange is no longer there. You cannot cash out on this.
Well, wait.
You can go to a different exchange.
Your wallet and the exchange is different.
He's saying if you have it in your cold wallet, and if an exchange, let's say FTX goes down, well, that's the cool part. There's
There are
countless.
more-
The exchange
okay.
is just a different word for a market.
Sure.
Where you can go find people to buy it. So let's say that exchange went down. I could go to a different exchange, sell it there. And if all of the exchanges in the world went down, I could then, in essence, in theory, still transact me to Georgie. That if he had something that I wanted, let's say he had cool boots that I wanted.
Get those boots.
Like, all right, cool. I'll trade you 2,000 Satoshis or 10,000 Satoshis or whatever for those shoes. And we could do the transaction that way, and I could get things of value in return. Yeah. So,
imaginary money.
But if your money is on an exchange and it goes under,
you get screwed. However, there's hope.
Great.
Because the reason, well, one, it happened to me, for $40,000. It just gone
Sick.
the next day. Imagine waking up to that. However, in the past few weeks, they're trying to recoup it, and we're actually getting, hopefully, there's light at the end of the tunnel. However, there was an exchange called Gemini who went down under a long time ago. They've been going through lawsuits, whatever else. People are getting their money doubled to what they had for all the craziness that's happened. So the exchange went down 2 years ago now, I want to say. So now people are getting their money doubled. So whatever you held in the exchange, you're getting double that just to make up for one last time,
interest, everything else,
grievance, and all that stuff.
Sure.
But to go back to like hacking and stuff, the reason, and overall just crypto or Bitcoin, the reason why a lot of people believe in Bitcoin or crypto overall is because you can track anything and everything. If you have cash, and that's the argument that people make in the government that I absolutely hate, because a lot of people say it's very corrupt. The wrong people use crypto. It's funding wars and all that stuff. People with cash do the same exact thing. It's nothing different than holding it on online.
It's easier to do it with cash than it is with
exactly.
with
Nobody.
something
If I have
else.
cash and I give you the money, nobody in the world's gonna know.
I will.
You will, and I will. That's about it.
Yeah.
If you do that on the blockchain, I can see it. You can see it. Everybody
Every
can see it.
transaction is tracked, so
Yeah.
you can go
Yeah.
back and see. the
Anybody
records
can
for
see
everything.
anything, and you can see who it belongs to, and you can figure everything out.
They should call them transactions.
So
Transactions, baby.
that's the thing. And also, from here to
Pending.
Bulgaria, I can send money. If my grandpa, let's say, had an exchange or wallet, whatever, I can send him within seconds. He can have it. He can cash it out. I don't have to pay a bank. I don't have to call a bank to get that. I don't need to call anybody to get it approved. I don't need to do anything. It's my money. I'm moving it. So essentially, it's just the freedom of your money put into this digital currency, and you can do whatever you want with it.
So if I had 60,000, that's what you guys said it was at, right? 60,000.
Yeah.
If I had $60,000 right now, put it into this, I get 1 Bitcoin.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
Or
how
100
much
million
is-
Satoshis.
That's what I was going to ask next. How much is a Satoshi?
Yeah. So every Bitcoin has 100 million Satoshis. So it's like just
Okay.
take it out into decimal places. Yeah. So like one thing, some of the places that I listen to, one podcast I listen to, Simply Bitcoin, like every single day they post all the different stats, how many blocks are on the blockchain, and things like that. One of the most interesting one to me is the Satoshi to dollar ratio. And right now it's at like it's like 1,600 Satoshis for every dollar. But every day I listen to that number goes down. And I genuinely believe it will get to a place where it's a 1-to-1 ratio. That every Satoshi is worth $1.
So
What I try to tell people is if you're ever interested in crypto, I know it's a crazy idea. And there's a percentage chance that Bitcoin and crypto do nothing and they become nothing. Like long term, they become absolutely zero and they go to zero. What percentage chance do you think that is? If you had to give it a chance. Percentage
99.
Chance. 99% chance that it's going to go to zero. So there's a 1% chance it would work in your eyes.
Sure.
What would you say? Probably about the same?
I'd say like 15%.
Okay. So like the thing I tell people, if that is true and you think 1%, put 1% of your total money into it just to hedge your bet. And once you have money in the game, you'll learn about it. And one thing I tell like the people that I talk to is if you put in $10, the only thing I think will happen after 5 years is you'll be mad you didn't put in 100 or 1,000 or 10,000. Or
If you cash it out.
no. So back to the cash out point. Think about investing like this. I actually had this conversation with my wife yesterday because unlike Javi and Georgie, I did not play professional soccer after college, and I went into finance and sales. And think of investing money in a bunch of different buckets or wallets. Let's say if you have $100 to your name and you have it in one wallet, if I steal your wallet, you have $0, right? Now take that same $100 put it into 10 different wallets with 10 different dollar bills. Think of those as your 10 different investments. You have some money in Bitcoin, some money in another crypto, some money in Apple, Google, etc. All of those are going to perform in terms of a return standpoint at different times. So stock might be up, crypto might be down.
Sure.
Google might be up, Meta might be down. You get the idea? That the whole point of like diversifying and having money in different places is the whole point of investing is to use money later when you need it.
Sure.
If I don't need my crypto money tomorrow and it's down, but I needed money today to buy food for my family. If I have 10 different wallets that are up and down, if half are up and half are down, I use the money today from the wallet that's up, right? And I keep taking from the wallet that's up, pay my bills, my life, etc., keeping the other money in all of the other places. Because a lot of people have the mindset of like, it's not real until I take it out. You're right, but why would I want to take it out if I don't need it?
Fair.
When it will do me better in the future if I leave it in there. But it all comes down to having it in multiple places. Because if you have it all in one thing and that thing's down and you need money, then to Georgie's point, you have to take the loss because you need the money. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. No, this turned into a whole. This was supposed to be a segment, guys.
I can't believe West Ham only got a minute.
No, the only thing I would say is my biggest thoughts are that at some point the government not even just the government, but there's certain people with enough power who can intervene, because this, as much as in a perfect world you'd let this, because the reason people like it is because it's not
It's not trackable. The government can't take it from you.
It's not governed.
it's not
It's
governed.
not governed.
It's not governed,
Yeah,
right?
the
So that's
power's
why
in the
people
people's
love
hands.
it.
Yep.
So it's like power to the people, right?
Yep.
It's not governed. We're not going to let the government. However, at some point, the government will intervene, and they'll say something. Bitcoin is banned. Bitcoin is this. Bitcoin is that.
It's happening.
And if they don't, they're going to be in charge of it, because they're going to buy all the Bitcoin or whatever with the government's money, and then they're going to be able to decide what the value of the Bitcoin is.
Well, okay, to go back to that, it's already happening.
Right? They're already putting some.
Well, in the middle of the last bull run, China put a ban on Bitcoin mining. So then it was one of the things that stopped the price rising. So the government manipulated the
that's
market.
what-
But
that's what I'm
then,
worried
you know what all the Bitcoin miners in China did?
Left China.
Left China.
Ah.
So then
I knew an answer.
you take all the people who are pretty intelligent people and are generating revenue that could have stayed in your country, and now they have taken that talent and that revenue to another country. So then China ends up, I don't think they've...
Yeah, but then eventually you're going
they
to run out of
reversed it.
countries.
No, they reversed
Well,
it.
because there's some... If you're a country like El Salvador or Argentina, when you don't have a functioning currency, what do you have to lose to do this? What does
Like El
Sheffield
Salvador.
United have to lose to stack their coach compared to West Ham? Like, you get them coming from the risk to reward to those bottom, those lower performing countries,
Yeah, I get it.
and then that's where people will go. And then China reverses it because they realize how much money
I see
they
a lot
lose.
of issues. I
There
just see
are?
a lot of issues.
Well,
Back-
for example, last thing I'll say about like the U.S., they just Binance, one of the biggest exchanges. They wanted the guy out, CZ, he's the face of crypto to many. They wanted him out, and they accused him of doing like they let terrorists and whatnot perform transactions through Binance USA. What the U.S. government did is, one, they fined them a lot of money, and they said you're gonna have to do things by the rules within the United States. And now here in the United States, you can't trade as like how you were able to 5 years ago. Now you can just buy Bitcoin for 60,000. You can't do leverage trading, which is like multiplying in, like taking more risk to it. You can only buy, and then that's it. So they're putting things in to try and control it as much as they can. The problem is, if you take all the money that crypto is making within the United States, and the United States completely says, you know what, we're done with crypto, USA is going to lose out. People in all the countries are going to take over, and that's where the money is going to be. So I don't see it ever becoming. They can put restrictions, and if you already went after the biggest exchange and you took their leader out, and Bitcoin's still pumping, and China does all that, and crypto's still pumping, there's nothing else in the world that can stop it. The only thing that the government can do is buy into it and manipulate the market, which they're already doing, and everybody knows it. The problem with that is they want to make money too. So what they do is they sell a lot, scare people that we were talking about, people that buy in at a top or a high. Once the government or bigger, richer people with power, like you said, do those type of things, people get scared. So what they do, they sell at a loss. They lose all the money. The people in power make that money, and then it goes up. And then no matter what, those people want Bitcoin to succeed. As much as they say they don't, they need to want it to succeed because they're the ones buying it at low. So as soon as it goes up, that's when the sellouts happen, and then it just keeps on repeating.
Well, because think about it too, Javi. If like the number keeps, to Georgie's point, if the number keeps going up, and you say, you know, I'm not going to do it. Like, there's been people when it was trading at 5 cents, I'm not going to buy it. Then went to 10 cents, not going to buy it. Oh, I missed the boat. Like, at some point, you have to realize if the boat keeps moving, like, everyone else is going to get on it. I'm going to be standing here on the shore, and that thing's going to be so far away, I can't swim up to catch it. And, like, that's, to Georgie's point, like, that's what countries, I think, are starting to realize now is, like, this probably is not going anywhere. So I can either get on board with it, or if some big countries, the United States, Europe, the countries in Europe, like countries that are well established and doing well, if they don't get on board with it, it could be to the detriment of their entire nation for 10, 15, 20 years if they don't get on board with it and it becomes a thing. Because like no one country can stop it. All of the countries could if they all came together and said we're going to turn off the internet. That would stop it.
Like
How-
Dubai, they're embracing crypto.
How many did you say there were in the world?
21 million.
21 million.
There's
So-
60 million millionaires, I think, in the world is a stat. So only a third of them or so can own one Bitcoin.
Anyway, that's it for this podcast. We
Look,
can do Bitcoin, we can
last
do
thing,
Bitcoin
it
on
can
the-
go to zero tomorrow. It's just a matter if you're a believer or not. That's all it is. It's the same with anything.
I'm not a believer. I'm only a believer.
Study. Hey, my tip to people
Bieber.
is study, research the technology and what it is. Start trying to figure out what money is and how it works, and put in $5, $10, $1, whatever you're comfortable with losing into it, and just start the process and see what happens.
And Moy's out.
I don't have the patience for this. All right, that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Make sure you guys follow us on the next on all our social media pages at the NGW Podcast. Yeah. Peace out.